That's pretty loud.
Pretty loud, yeah.
All right, we're here today with Kevin Underwood of Ironclad Gunworks, and he very graciously today has brought a functioning Gatling gun. We're very, very happy that you came out here to share this thing with us, because this thing is awesome. We just shot it right now.
Yeah, this. Thank you for hosting me and opening up your range for me.
Very official range.
Yeah. Hey, it works. It's sending lead down range very rapidly. A lot of lead in that direction.
Very, very manually too.
Yeah. Yes.
This is the workout machine gun.
Yes, it's basically a coffee grinder for when you really don't like anybody else.
Particularly Confederates or Indians.
Yes. Yeah.
Johnny Ray, would you like some cream with your coffee?
Because
we're going to cream you with
I'll
this.
put some creamer in your
Gatling.
coffee. So this is an 1862 pattern Gatling gun, 1862 A1, 58 caliber as used during the Civil War. It fires about 250, 300 rounds a minute, depending on how smoothly you can turn the handle. It's not just about crank it fast. You got to be smooth and consistent. It still fires black powder cartridges. It fires a proprietary cartridge that I will get more in depth on later. Just a little steel sleeve that loads inside the magazine, 20 round magazine, and it's strictly gravity fed. Cartridges just slide down and fall into their chambers. As the barrels come around, it fires them. Fires off of the top right hand barrel once it gets over about 1 o'clock, and it's just manually operated by a hand crank. So with Gatling guns, they had kind of the military didn't really like them right off the bat at the turn of the Civil War, but there were more Union generals bought these guns privately. It was General Butler ended up purchasing, I believe, 12 of these for personal use, and he outfitted an entire gun battery with just these Gatling guns, and his purchase made up vast majority of the Gatlings used in the Civil War. They're mostly used around the siege of Richmond, Virginia, by the Union forces. The Union Army initially believed that it was just going to be a complete waste of money and resources, ammunition, all of that. There's not a whole lot of record as to exactly how well these guns performed in the Civil War, but I mean, the sheer intimidation factor alone, if you're used to just strictly single-shot muzzleloaders, to then come up on something like this, it'd be unbelievable. I wouldn't face it down.
Well, essentially, like, just as we just fired this, essentially one of these is equivalent of like a squad of Springfield.
Correct.
Infantry.
It's approximately 30 to 40 riflemen are replaced by the sheer firepower of this gun alone with a 3-man crew. So Dr. Richard Gatling, when he designed this gun, he built it with an attempt and with the thought of saving lives on the battlefield by inventing a gun. So his thought was, if you increase the firepower, the number of soldiers needed on the battlefield will go down. Therefore, you have less risk of casualties. The reality was, mankind looked at it and went, oh, that's awesome. I can do a lot more damage with the same number of people. So we'll just do that. And that's where Gatling guns kind of got their start. After the Civil War, the U.S. government decided that, maybe there's something to this machine gun thing, and they ended up ordering a bunch more in actual brass cartridges. And that was the kind that, well, if Custer would have brought his along with him, things might have gone a little differently for him on that fateful June day.
We kind of got a little taste lugging this thing in and then lugging it out here of probably maybe why he didn't want to bring him.
Definitely.
Like, this thing weighs, you said here it weighs around, just the gun itself weighs 200 pounds.
It's about 280 pounds for just the gun, not including the yoke or the tripod. So if you throw it on a carriage, which is what mostly what it would have been used for, or as far as being in the field, the carriage would have made moving them around a little bit easier, but you're basically hauling around another cannon at that point.
And these were attached to artillery anyway, weren't
Yeah,
they?
yeah, they were treated as a type of artillery, essentially, more of a defensive role. I believe there were some posted around Washington, D.C. That ended up being used in more defensive picket type roles, but very, very limited service during the Civil War. Just a fascinating little piece of American firearm history and ingenuity.
Yeah, and we're super fortunate that you got to come out and shoot it out here, and we get
Yeah.
to film it, and we get to talk about it, and other
Yeah.
people get to enjoy it too, hopefully.
Yeah,
And we post it up. And
fantastic.
yeah, we'll get in close and look at the guts of it real quick.
Yeah,
all
I'd
right?
be happy to show you that. So, as far as the cartridges go, it fires these steel sleeves. They're called chambers. Uses a standard percussion cap on the back of it. There's a nipple built in. You put a percussion cap on the back. You load black powder in from the front. And then it fires a 58 caliber mini ball. So it's a hollow base 58 caliber bullet that then gets pressed down on top of the powder and compressed. So everything sits inside. Bullet sits in just barely underneath the mouth of the chamber. Everything gets loaded up into the magazine. And as the cartridge falls through, it drops in on that side. It's strictly gravity fed gun. As it goes around, you can see there's a plunger that comes out, and it actually presses the chamber up against the breech of the barrel. So it physically forces the sleeve into place, fires it, then as it goes around it releases almost immediately after firing and allows it to just drop out of the side of the gun. As far as the firing, so here's a good look as to how the plunger mechanisms work. Goes around, and right there you can see there's that little firing pin protruding out of that plunger, out of the large plunger, and that is what hits the percussion cap firing the gun. Everything is built on a camming system inside the body of the gun itself, which I'm not going to get into, at least not in this video. All the internal gears and workings of this gun. It's quite simple once you figure out how everything works, but up until then it's extraordinarily complicated. But it's a fun gun. It's a genius way. Before brass cartridges are really in wide use, this was really a genius way of making a very fast repeating firearm.
All right, fire in the hole. Battery's free. Get them ready. Whoa. Woo-hoo. Hello, this is Soothing Reloading
Soothing sounds of reloading by the fire.
by the Fireside with Kevin Underwood.
Yes, I will be your guru on reloading chambers for an 1862 Gatling. So if you find yourself in need of needing to know how to load these, allow me to be your guide. So you take a sleeve that's either been fired or hasn't been fired yet and is clean. Take it, I've wiped these down from the last firing that we did earlier. And the next step, make sure you pull any spent percussion caps off of the back. You can see the nipple right down inside there, or a firing cone if you're giggling at nipple, because I usually do. So then you have to put a percussion cap, which I have a whole tin of them here. You put your percussion cap over the nipple, you line it up ever so carefully. Line it up, you get that fairly straight on there. From there, the gun came with a primer setting tool, which is essentially an inverse of the of each chamber, and it has a little raised portion there for seating the percussion cap just underneath the surface, the breech surface of the case, so as it doesn't snag up, and it makes it a little hard. It makes it much more difficult for the sleeve to accidentally go off. I come in with a cleaning jag on a T-handle that I made, and you just press it down on there, and it'll seat the cap. You'll see the cap is slightly deformed and kind of a little bulbous, so that shows that it is now underneath the surface. I always check and feel. It's low. So this cartridge is now primed. As far as putting powder into it, I made this little field reloading stand. So I have 2F black powder inside the hopper here. It's just a standard volumetric type powder measure most people use for cartridge reloading that I've just repurposed with my stand. And I have the grainage set to 33.5 grains, which is a good charge for this gun. Maximum recommended is 35 grains. And you definitely don't want to go much above that. I've done it and nope. So do not do that. So once you drop in your measure of powder, you take one of the 58 caliber mini balls here, and you just slide that down on top. Compress it down, and you'll feel some of the powder kind of getting crushed up and ground up. And what I do is I take a little bit of grease, just a blend of a few different greases that I put together that seems to work well for adhesion. And there you go. Now you have a loaded 58 caliber Gatling gun chamber. And do that several hundred more times, and you can go have 2 minutes of fun at the range with the Gatling gun.
Pretty cool, Kevin.
Those last blanks are like, boom, boom.
We're ready to fire.
Fire the hole.